Привет, дорогие друзья! Вы на канале Джорис и Джейк Твидок. С вами, как всегда, я, Джейк. Мы с вами продолжаем прохождение Stories of Destinies. Здесь с выбором Люпина я выберу не доверять ему. Хочу посмотреть, что из этого будет. Да я даже не видел, что он, типа, атака у него была. Какого черного у меня такого не.
That was odd. Bernardo had been here, at this exact place, at this exact time. But this time, there were so many more ravens.
Медвачка, классно. Шабанился. Да ладно. Могу это сюда потратить, типа у меня вот это откроется. Скорость выстрела крюком, но или вот сюда.
Well, he'd always wanted to do that.
Вот это надо точно будет это точно один. Да. Я все забываю, что там надо на это. Ну все, прыгаем вниз.
The Emperor! Call the ravens! Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino were. Unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his chest. Dirty and bloody, Bernardo finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Bernardo recognized, we capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power. To make the Sky Ripper, the Transcendent Emperor had wrapped an armature around the eye of a god. Bernardo...
Нет, я уже вам вроде показывал это когда-то в других роликах, как сценарий.
It's beautiful here, thought Bernardo. It was nice to be back with his old war buddy. All right. Lupino was a traitor. But still, he was good company.
Надеюсь, меня так более громко слышно. А то я начал замечать под видео, что меня тише слышно вообще. Надеюсь, так меня громко слышно, потому что я, наверное, уже давно так очень громко не говорю раньше, потому что я говорил, потому что был очень далеко от микрофона и говорил
There
очень-очень
was
громко.
something
Сейчас
sour in
я
the air,
не знаю, как мне на каком
like the
уровне
earth had
надо говорить,
ruptured over
чтобы
something
меня
that had
было
been
очень
fermenting for a
хорошо
very
слышно.
long time.
Поэтому, поэтому вот так вот.
Renato hoped his portal had been inspected recently. Renato felt wrong all over. He could feel an almost palpable sickness in the air. If the land could have tumors, they would look like these monstrous crystals. The forest was quieter than it had been. There were insects, but a few birds. You didn't count the ravens. Renato smelled sick animals and dying ones. No help. I'm getting a bad feeling about this, Renato thought. Maybe Lapina was right. Maybe he should have kidnapped Zenobia instead of coming here. Come over here. As he held the radiant icosahedron, Renato felt queasy, like dozens of tiny worms when... Tell you what, said Lapino. I'll take it to the observatory. You attack the Imperial outpost. The Imperial outpost was a vital communications node. Taking it could shatter the Empire's ability to coordinate. And it would be full of secret plans and maps and maybe even rebel prisoners. It was a good target for a hero like Renato. But what if Lapino lost the core to the Empire? That could be a good thing, couldn't it? Was Renato ready to take that risk? Maybe it was better if he brought the core to the scientists himself. Lapino was a touchy rabbit. Renato knew that. You're brave, I know, Renato said. But this is what I was hired to do. Oh, well, at least let me run ahead and warn them you're coming. Renato wondered if Lapino was up to no good. What if the rabbit warned the Empire instead? Oh, but Lapino wouldn't betray him like that. Not again. Before it'd been a fluke, right? They finished the trip to the Nexus in silence. He would offer Lapino a chance to betray him, or not to. His old friend deserved another chance to prove true. All right, Renato said. Go.
Ура, 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 ура. Так.
As Renato watched Lapino vanish on the horizon, he could feel nausea building in him. He felt ill. Could his knees really be aching this much? But how could he have handed the core off to Lapino? That was a recipe for disaster.
Ой, да ладно. Ой, да ладно, у нас снижается это. ХП вроде бы. Реально снижается по чуть-чуть. Ё-моё. Ладно, не по чуть-чуть. черный был.
Bernardo felt worse. All his joints were aching now. He'd been through beatings that felt better than this. So the core had a kind of poison that could harm you without even touching you. That's new. Well, it had power. The rebellion needed something with power. And how was this any worse than a sword wound? Well, a death by sword was sudden and fair. This was just squalid.
Конечно,
Piecemeal
это
death,
дольше
like
и
old age.
мучительнее, да? Это даже такие ловушки. Тупо, конечно, но... Проблема у меня уходит КП.
All you knew you shouldn't cast a raven further than you could throw her. But the vertical drop count.
Интересно, а здесь какие два выбора будут? Что будет, если я пойду к повстанцам или в горы наверх? А, ну да, конечно. Мгм. Значит, надо попробовать пойти к повстанцам.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists everywhere. Bernardo found the mad rabbit cowering under a desk. The ravens, they must have known we were coming, said Lupino. How did you... See, I was doing a card trick with my lucky deck, and I kind of bobbled the cards, so I went under the desk to gather them up, and boom! I guess we'll have to take the car straight to the secret base. Renata wasn't sure he believed that, but Lupino was talking so fast. It always seemed to make sense. The secret rebel base. Yes. They had engineers there. But wait. Calaveras, the sage in the mountains. Maybe he would know what to do with the naked core.
Дать на тайную
The
базу.
secret base. Not even Lupino knew where it was. They had engineers there. Those toads would surely know what to do with the core's power. And then he'd be free of it. But he couldn't take Lupino. The core would work its evil on him too. You stay here. Give me the coordinates. I'll meet you there. Lupino seemed awfully anxious to have the coordinates of the secret rebel base. Someone needs to bury these scientists. Well, why do I get all the fun jobs? And with that, Bernardo returned to the Farfarer and took off.
Не знаю. Дай подумать, почему тебе достается самая веселая работа, когда ты
The
не
ruins were
отравлен?
quiet, but Bernardo could hear a buzzing in his ears. Was it bugs? Or was it the core slowly feeding him poison? The council would know what to do. If the core had this much power, it could surely change the terms of the great battle that was coming. And maybe they would take this burden from him. Maybe. Funny about librarians. People thought of them as fussy clerks who shushed them for talking. But the librarians thought of their books as sacred, and themselves as priests in a temple of knowledge. Who knew they were willing to die to protect it?
Боюсь, я умру раньше, чем дойду туда.
Go away. Bernardo thought of the choices he had made. He'd rescued a friend and left him behind. He'd recovered a weapon and it was killing him. And the Empire's greatest scientists were dead because he'd asked their advice. Bernardo would win. How had it come to this? Bernardo had signed on as an adventurer. Sure, the Emperor had gone mad. Sure, Bernardo had heard horrors from the ghosts of dead kittens and puppies sacrificed in his blasphemous rituals. But when he jumped in, he'd only been a little bored and slightly broke. And here he was, carrying a bucket of death across a broken landscape. Why not drop it and run? Because he hated to quit in the middle. That was his fatal flaw. He had to know how it all turned out. Anyone ever tell you have a lovely eye? No?
Все.
The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
Не так мало хп, падла.
He dropped the core at the entrance to the council chambers.
Get that thing out of here!
Croaked the speaker.
It's making us sick!
That's the core of the Sky Ripper, said Renato.
No, it's not useless at all,
Said an engineer toad.
It's poisonous. Look at the fox. He's ill. Probably dying.
Yeah, not useless at all, said Renato. So what do I do? Rub it on His Majesty? The engineer chuckled. Renato didn't like it when engineers chuckled. Oh, I got it. Listen, I can make a bomb and spread bits of the core all over a circle about 100 paces wide. Little chunks of poison and death. All you have to do is just get it near the Emperor. He'll kill him and his bodyguard and chop off the head of the fleet. Yeah, and if we're lucky, might poison some of the ravens around there as well. What about me?
Right, what about you? Well, I'll build in a timer. You can set it and run.
No, that's a horrible idea, said Renato.
Oh, we have to do something, yes?
Said the speaker.
This is something.
Renato couldn't argue with that. And so, reluctantly, Renato loaded the rigged core onto the Farfarer and set sail towards the Emperor's ship. The rebels took the fight to the Imperial fleet, but Renato was too sick to enjoy the view. He must have passed out as a firm hand grabbed him and shoved him forward. This was it.
Да, триумф нашей смерти. Зашибись.
The fleet seemed very big,
Черт,
and its
ладно.
ravens very tough.
Я слишком рано.
Or maybe he was just slower and weaker than before. He hated the idea of poisoning the enemy. It wasn't fair. Face to face with a raven, let the best swordsman survive. But they wouldn't even know what was killing them. Feather by feather, scale by scale. He didn't mind dying a hero. That sometimes went with being a hero. But he didn't feel at all like a hero. Not today.
Я умру через одну единицу. Зашибись. Да, сторонние. Это то, что мне надо. Сейчас так еще. Скачаем.
He was exhausted. He was making stupid mistakes. His fur was coming off in bunches. Up ahead, he could see the Emperor's ship, long and sleek, a floating palace. The bomb would only poison a circle 100 paces wide. He would get as close as he could, set it, and run. Oh, this is a lousy way to win a rebellion, he thought. He didn't want to medal for this. He just wanted to be forgotten.
Renato really liked the sound his sword made in the air.
Похоже, я умру раньше, чем думал. Нет, я сам, мне надо выключить корабли, да. Повыше. Конечно, не туда зайти. А именно вот сюда, на корабль, да, добраться.
Renato twisted the timer and the bomb as far as it would go and staggered off. His knees hurt. Oh, everything hurt. He staggered away as far as he could until he had to lie down. He could see the entire Imperial fleet from here, and the rebel ships engaged with it. There was a blinding flash. And a second later, a monstrous thump. Burning rocks arced across the sky over both fleets. A wreath of fire shot outwards, rolling across the fleets. A pillar of smoke boiled up from where the Emperor's ship had been. It reached into the clouds. That's a wee bit more than 100 paces, thought Renato. It took Renato most of that evening to die. Some of the toughest ravens lasted all week. Some of the rebels in the furthest ships survived as much as a month. That winter, with neither Empire nor rebels to rule them, the islands slid into banditry. And so began the Second Age of Darkness.
Так, господи.
Oh, again? But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that. He must have not used them the right way. What was the best, worst mistake he could make? Probably trusting that traitor Lapino.
Не то там Липина появится, а не вот это будет. Ну ладно. Значит, в следующий раз Клаверс поем. Так, я не помню. Это... это совет. Так. А это Клаверс, да? Это было... Ага, так возьмем. Поезд встретиться с советом. А спаси Люпина было вот тут, да? Да. Так, здесь не довериться ему, но при этом...
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before? And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage. Yeah. Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient...
Я выбрал Иблис, потому что там был еще другой выбор, типа у него появился план, мы это посмотрим. У нас остается, значит, Иблис Зенобия, Каркас Зенобия, Иблис Неборез. Вот все, а потом уже концовка, наверное, с Люпино. Ну что ж, дорогие друзья, на этом я с вами прощаюсь. Надеюсь, все понравилось. Вы подписались, поставили лайк, написали комментарий. Поддержите канал всем тем, что я перечислил. Отлично, сейчас уже сентябрь, и вы как бы не знаю, что вы сейчас делать. Может, учитесь или ушли работать. Надеюсь, вы сейчас в более хорошем настроении. Надеюсь, я дарю вам настроение. Ну а я с вами прощаюсь. Всем удачи и пока.